Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're here at the Medway Queen. Now she's docked down here in Gillingham in Kent, and she's been here for quite a numerous amount of years now, and she's open to the public. There's a visitor centre that you can walk around and have a look, and believe me, this ship has got an incredibly vast history, spanning all the way from pre-war to involved in Operation Dynamo, and she was even a nightclub. So let's go around and have a look at the Medway Queen.
The tugboat, for its size, is the most powerful craft afloat. And the star tugs are the power behind the docks and waterways that make up the big city port. This is Tugs.
The Medway Queen is a paddle-driven steamship and the only mobile estuary steamer left in the whole of the UK. She was built in 1924 by the new Medway Steam Packet Company before passing ownership in 1964 and became a nightclub in Ryde on the Isle of Wight. In 1984, the Medway Queen was brought back from the Isle of Wight, where she had spent many years, to the Medway area by a group of local businessmen headed by Jim Ashton, who intended to restore her. It was then in 1985 she became under the ownership of the Medway Queen Preservation Society, which she still does to this day. Admission is £7 upon arrival, which entitles you to the whole year free admission, where you start your tour in the visitor centre and will be given a brief history of her 100 years of existence. You will then be greeted by one of the knowledgeable tour guides who, might I say, David, was fantastic. You will then be given a tour of the workshop where restoration continues, and then taken aboard where you will be guided through various parts of the ship before ending it with a complimentary cup of tea or coffee. It's good tea. Now, let's take a look back around the Medway Queen. So yeah, the Medway Queen, guys, she was built in Tron in 1924 for the Medway Steam Packet Company, and she was launched on the 23rd of April in 1924. And essentially she would have serviced from Strood Pier over to the Sun Pier in Chatham, and she did occasionally go down to Herne Bay and eventually down to Margate as well. She did serve as well during Operation Dynamo in obviously the famous Dunkirk, and around 7,000 troops she saved there. Now she was also a minesweeper obviously during the war, and even both of the paddles had machine guns attached to them as well. So obviously she would be a minesweeper during the war, and then eventually obviously she came out of service. Now when she came out of service there was talks in terms of what they wanted to do with her, and in the end it was decided in 1963 she would be towed to the Isle of Wight, where she became the Medway Queen nightclub. And even my grandparents potentially could have met there because they used to frequent that, and she was there for quite a long time. But essentially they did bring another paddle steamer over to the Isle of Wight because they thought it was such a good idea, and it was a larger paddle steamer, and because of that she was left into disrepair. And it wasn't until the 1980s that eventually they decided they had to bring her home here in Medway, and to which she's been lovingly restored by these amazing volunteers here to this day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly take you for a quick tour around the steamer. So let's go.
I always make the same old joke on these tours, so if you've been before, forgive me, but this is the heart of the Medway Queen Preservation Society operation, because we've got the toilets here, so that's vitally important. No toilets, that's it. And you might find out a bit more about the toilets when we get on board the ship as well. This is a slightly different version. This is actually to give instructions to the crew at the stern about what to do with the ropes. So in 1924 there was no such thing as a two-way radio or a mobile phone, so the only way to get information from the bridge about what to do with the ropes at the stern was to ring this handle round, and then it would give you instructions to the crew at the stern about things like stop the capstan, make fast, always like the last two, hold on and let go. You don't want to get those two mixed up. This is the captain's cabin.
So over here, you've got the captain's cabin. This is where the captain would have stayed. Got the old radio there. Nice little bench. Bearing in mind this has all been restored. Unfortunately, it's not original. And yeah, you would have stayed in there. Knew what all the crewmates and that were up to. They all knew what they were doing. So I have a funny feeling you probably went in there for a little bit of a kip. Now you would have had all these benches where obviously she did frequent in the late 1920s, 1930s, up before the war. So you'd have all these luxury benches, and obviously they would people would take trips down the river. Now this is where the old wheel would have been, the steering wheel. So essentially you'd be sort of standing there almost like Captain Jack Sparrow style, like standing on the wheel. And then yeah, we come right to the front of the ship. Now if you head down the stairs here, you come to this stunning almost sort of dining room and bar area. So you've got to imagine, like obviously in the 60s when it was a nightclub, you can sort of imagine particularly this might have sort of been how it was, probably a lot more modernised than this. This is maybe more sort of the 1920s, 1930s, how they water travelled. You've got this nice authentic restored bar here.
A lot of this stuff's all been done by volunteers. This ship's been because in Victorian times they tried to clamp it.
That's where it is.
This is more
You put it in sparkling.
Over here is an amazing model of the Medway Queen. I mean, look at the detail in this model. That was built by the late Mr. A. Sedge in 1996 and was constructed with recycled waste from waste paper baskets. I mean, that's incredible. And this is the engine room. So the engine would essentially power both the paddles either side of the ship. And you can see through there one of the paddles. And through here you have the boiler room. So it's a large NT compartment now, but this is where Medway Queen's boiler would have produced steam for the main engine. Finally, once you've finished your tour, you'll then come in to a nice little seating area at the end of the ship where they've got a little gift shop and you get a complimentary tea or coffee.
It's always difficult for me because I like things just so, and I look at it and I see all these streaks of grime coming down it, but it's very difficult to deal with that. You can't really put a ladder in the mud, so that makes it a little bit difficult. But the other thing you can see is at the very bottom of the keel of the
So that's been our trip here to the Medway Queen, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed that and you found that fascinating. I know I certainly have. Ship's got such an incredible history here, so I really would implore coming down here. Like I say, it's just right next to the Asda in Gillingham Pier in Kent. And be on the lookout for the centenary events coming up in April and May. So the ship actually turns 100 years old then, so they will be doing special events for it. And it's £7 per person to get in here, and it entitles you to the whole year, so it's an annual admission, so it's really, really worth it. And we even picked up a little magnet because it always helps them out. Yeah, that's been another episode, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.